Afternoon. Hi. My name is Paul Grote, and it's really nice that you're here. And today I want to talk to you about something that I found was incredibly important on my journey in life. I've been studying personal development for, probably 30 years. I'm a master practitioner in NLP, hypnotherapist, and I've done all kinds of interesting things. And a little while back, I started studying what something I thought was really profound, which is the concept of our self-image. And the self-image, you think, when I've said that to a few people, they say, oh, you mean, do you look good? And, how are the clothes you're wearing? But that's not what our self-image is about. Each and every one of us, throughout our life, but especially when we're young, made up beliefs about who we think we are. Now, there's a series of influences that will come into your life, came into my life, that you made up decisions about yourself. And in essence, you installed your own personal operating system. Now, we all end up seeing everything we do through our self-image. Unconsciously, I think most of us think that we see reality, but we don't. We see our version of reality. It's like most of us walk around with a pair of sunglasses on that have our image, our self-image of how we see the world. Now, we start taking on information. We actually inherit information. And there's increasing science studies done on how we inherit information from past generations. And I think a lot of that really comes down to that we humans have a built-in survival mechanism, that we are looking for threats, especially when we're children, and we are creating a model of what's safe in the world. Next place that we start taking on information into our self-image actually happens in the womb. And we can pick up energy from our mothers, from the people how our mother is, her state of mind. And that's something we can take on throughout our life. Now, I remember I have a friend of mine who was abandoned as a young child. And she took on energy. Like when she was in the womb, her grandmother wanted her mother to abort her. And so when she came into the world, she had this underlying part of her self-image that said, I'm a burden and people don't want me. The next part, which is really, really intricate, when we're young, or really important, is when we're young children. We're evaluating. You see a little baby and you think the baby's so cute and just lying there. But even as a young child, we're evaluating the world around us, and we're evaluating our relationship with our caregivers. We're evaluating what we perceive as what do I need to do to get love? What do I need to do to get attention? If I cry, are my parents going to come? Are they not going to come? How are my other family members that are treating me? And then going into school. What a lot of people probably don't realize is that our brain fluctuates in a series of frequencies. And most of us, like right now, you'll be in what's called beta, which is relatively quick. And you slow down a little bit as you're starting to go into, say, meditation, you go into alpha. And then as your brain slows down, especially as it's late at night and you're going to go into sleep, you go into theta, which is sort of the start of getting into deep sleep, and then into delta, which is deep sleep, which is where we process a lot of our thoughts and beliefs. Well, young children are in delta 24 hours a day from the moment they're born to about 2 years of age. And they're absorbing everything. And one of the great things is it's one of the ways that we learn languages. And from 2 to about 7, a young child is in theta. And again, wide open, taking in all the information. And so in that process, they're making up decisions about who they are and whether they're loved or not loved. And that's becoming part of a real key part of your self-image. Was a lot of it, these are things you took on in the womb, but especially from 0 to about 7 years old. Unfortunately, you're totally dependent on how you're raised by other people and whether they're capable of being good parents. And when I started studying attachment theory, which is basically the study of how we attach to our caregivers, You would think that in a perfect world, everybody would come out with what's called a secure attachment, where you have really good attachment with your caregivers. And unfortunately, it's about 50% of society. Right now, the estimate is that about 50% of society come out of their childhood with secure attachment. So what that means is that 50% of the world is making sense of the world based on insecure attachment, or for lack of a better word, negligent parenting. And it's really easy. One of the things when I started studying self-image, it's how easy it is for us, especially as young children, to make life-altering beliefs. I was studying this one woman. I was studying hypnosis. Milton Erickson had this client, and Milton Erickson was one of the people they studied to create neurolinguistic programming. And so this one woman in 50 years old, she kept ending up in the hospital. And what they found out was when she was 4 years old, she made a life-altering decision: if I get sick, I get love. Her mother would show up when she was sick. So she took on this as part of her self-image. And 50 years later, she's still ending up in the hospital because this program is running in her background. And I've read so many stories. I remember there was one story I studied. This young kid was gardening with his dad, and they were weeding. He was like 3 years old, and he's weeding. And his dad looks over, and there's the young kid, and the young kid's pulling out flowers, not weeds. And his dad grabs a shovel and goes screaming over him, going, "I'm going to kill you." Needless to say, that had a rather significant effect on the child. The person I was studying, this guy Gary Flint, was saying that he ended up developing about 200 mini personalities as a result of this thing that happened to him as children. But here's the really thing that I got from studying our self-image. So we all make up beliefs about us, our relationship to others, our relationship to the world. Things like, I'm lovable, I'm unlovable. I can be successful, I can't be successful. I can do amazing things, I can't do amazing things. I'll never amount to something, or I will amount to something. And we take on these beliefs as part of our self-image, and we think they're the truth. And so I found this really fascinating when I started studying self-image. So if you take on beliefs, like I know for me, one of the ones, what happened for me when I was growing up, my parents wanted us to have a better life. And so they bought a house outside of Toronto, which meant they had to commute to work. And so they were gone from 7 in the morning till 6 or 7 o'clock at night, both of them, which meant during the day, other than a babysitter, there was nobody ever there for me. And so I made these decisions. There's nobody there for me, and I'm unlovable. And that became part of my process and ran in the background. And unfortunately, when we think these things are true, we go out to prove they're true. I'm unlovable, so I'm going to go attract somebody into my life to prove me I'm unlovable. I'm not smart. I'm going to attract opportunities to prove that I'm not smart. And most of us have some things in our self-image that we took on as children that have a lifelong influence. Like it's like an operating software in a computer, even $100 computer. This software is there going, okay, well, I want to be a multimillionaire. No, you're not smart enough. And so that software, you're not smart enough, kicks in because part of it's tied to safety, that, oh, you survived this, so that means I better keep this true. So our subconscious mind goes out to make sure these parts of our self-image are true. And so the bottom line here is that all of us take on pieces of our self-image, but a lot of us take on pieces of our self-image that work against us, that stop us in relationships. I'll give you another personal example. When I was a little kid, my parents, as I said, were never around. So what I had to do to get attention was jump up and down and make like a temper tantrum to get them to respond to me because they were so preoccupied. Well, what I ended up doing, my subconscious mind go, well, this works to get you love. So guess what I did? That was one of my self-image beliefs. So imagine how that plays out in relationships. So I'd get into a relationship with somebody that I really loved, and I went, oh, I know how to get more love. I'm going to jump up and down and start yelling and screaming, and or getting upset or whatever. And needless to say, you can imagine just how that played out in my relationships. And here I am in my late 60s, and I'm single. And I'm kind of wondering why? Not really. This is the problem with our self-image. We all have it. Most of us haven't got a clue what's inside of our self-image. And all I can tell you is if you start paying more attention to where you get stuck and start asking yourself questions like, why am I doing this? When did I first start doing this? When did I learn that this was a way to do with what I want? And start looking for areas where you're having trouble in life. And I will bet you all the money in the world, you're going to start to unveil parts of your self-image that are running your life and that are sabotaging and are keeping you within the constrictions of your self-image that may have worked for you when you were 3 or 4 years old, but they're not working for you when you're older. And that happens in a lot of things, especially people who go through trauma or PTSD or complex trauma as children. They develop sense of self that when they get into life and they continue to run the self-image the way that it is, and this might be you, that your self-image is going to get in the way of you creating the life you want. And the good news is you can change your self-image. It's not easy because your self-image is buried in your subconscious mind. But there are ways that you can update your self-image instead of I'm unlovable to I am lovable. For me, one obviously was, hey, listen, jumping up and down to getting love from somebody you care about isn't a good idea. Sitting down and showing them how much you love them and talk to them with respect goes a lot farther. And so, but the real part is start to become aware of what you're doing. Start looking into areas where you're stuck in life and start asking yourself, what have I been seeing myself doing over and over and over again? That, especially if you're older, or especially you can look back and see over a course of relationships, what is it, what beliefs did I take on that are keeping me in the constraints? Because here's what happens. You start to walk out, get outside of your self-image, and your self-image can drag you back. Oh, I can be a multimillionaire. Well, no. You're not good enough for that. I can have an amazing relationship. No, I don't think so. Relationships, you're not good in them. And so to change your life, one of the biggest things that can have a profound effect on changing your life is changing your self-image, changing how you see yourself. And this is what I started doing. I started realizing the people I was attracting into my life. I was coming from one of the other things I had to do because my parents were never around is I developed codependent behaviors to get their attention. And I had to really start to look at that, especially the types of people I would attract that, oh, I'm going to rescue them. I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to do all this other stuff. And it was all because of that's what I learned as a child. And, you know, one of the things the more I started learning about self-image, it's, you know, that our ego gets attached to our self-image. But if you know you have a belief that you're unlovable or you think you're unlovable, and if you can change that to I am totally lovable, the types of people you're going to attract and accept are your life's going to change. And I don't, you know, if you think about it, if you have a $100 computer here and you know there's a virus sitting in that computer, you're going to work pretty diligently to go out and get that virus and replace and have it scooped out of the hard drive on your computer. And we don't do that with ourselves. We accept this crappy programming and we can accept it throughout our whole life. And all I'm trying to tell you is you don't have to. Your self-image is changeable. It's not, you know, if we could just change, oh, I'm just going to be this, our brains would be too stupid. There's a processes you can go through to discover your what the beliefs are that are holding you back. and then turn around and replace them with something that is going to support who you want to become. Just start looking for places in your life that you're stuck, that you're failing about making money or procrastinating, and start looking for beliefs that you might be sitting on. And I'm going to do more videos on this because I think this is a really important topic. But right now, just start becoming more aware of where you're stuck in life, especially where there's a pattern where you've done the same types of things over and over again. Anyways, I hope this gets you thinking, and thanks for coming by. I'm just starting to getting into doing videos, and I hope I'll be doing them a lot more. But this is one of the things right now. I'm actually writing a book on this topic, which I'll have out in 3 or 4 months. And because I think this, our self-image, you change your self-image to from I'm stupid to I'm smart, or I'm great at coming up with great ideas, your whole life changes. Like I noticed when I started changing my life around making money and stuff like that, like which I'll talk about more in another video, like I would make lots of money and lose it all. It's because I had beliefs that I didn't deserve to be wealthy. And so when you change these beliefs, and I deserve to be wealthy, then you keep the money. And I deserve to have a great relationship. You keep the relationship, especially when you change your jumping up and down. And you can put yourself in charge of your life. And don't let programming from when you were a kid, especially if you had parents that didn't do their homework and learn how to take care of children properly, or they were just busy like mine were or something like that. Don't hold on to this stuff. Let it go and choose, who do I want to be? What kind of a person do I want to be? How do I want to show up in this world and make a difference in people's lives? So anyways, I really want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope this gets you thinking. I'm going to put a lot more videos on this topic because I think it's really powerful, and my book will be out in a few months. And I just really want to thank you for dropping by, and I hope you're having a spectacular day and this really interesting world we've created. One last comment: if you got little kids, keep your cell phone away from them. What's the message you give to a child when you're sitting on your cell phone, and what's the message they're making up? Because this is what we do when we're little kids. We make up the meaning we give for what's going on. If I'm sitting there, I'm a little 1 or 2 years old, and I'm crying and nobody comes, what is the message I'm making up about the world? This is how kids take on beliefs about I'm unlovable and all this other stuff. But if you're walking along with your cell phone and your kid's right there, what's the message you're giving to them? That cell phone's more important than they are. And no kid should grow up with that. So that's my personal peeve of the month right now. Anyways, take care of yourself. Really glad you showed up, and look forward to seeing you soon. Please leave comments, and I'd love to hear your own thoughts on this topic below. And have an absolutely spectacular day.